All right, we made it to another weekend. That means more NASCAR DFS slates. Best thing to look forward to when the weekend comes around. At least for us, it is. But got the Truck Series and the Cup Series at Kansas this weekend. The Xfinity Series is off, so just two slates. The Truck Series races on Saturday, and the Cup Series races on Sunday. This is just the initial preview video going over. Kind of what to expect for the Truck Series, kind of how we're approaching it. Some initial guys we're kind of high on, some different things to watch. So let's go over that real quickly. So we're going to 1.5 mile intermediate oval. We haven't seen one of these on at least the Truck Series side of things until Las Vegas. So I have to go all the way back to Las Vegas until you get another 1.5 mile track for comparison. We just ran Darlington, kind of 1.3 mile intermediate, but Darlington's kind of a weird track. So, we're still going to use it to kind of help with the picks and stuff that we want. But Kansas is more of kind of like the cookie cutter intermediate track that you think of. It's 134 laps. So that means as far as dominator points go, 33.5 for laps led and 60.3 for fast laps. One thing that seems true no matter what series we're in is there's a lot of caution flags. We see, short 10, 15 lap run caution or stage break, especially with how short the race is for the Truck Series, and almost guaranteed at the end, we're going to have some type of overtime finish or a 5-lap shootout at the end. So these slates tilt, one way or the other very quickly. There's there's just a lot that goes into it, a lot of unpredictability. But as far as like what we're really looking at this weekend, I think you have to kind of take practice and qualifying with a little bit of a grain of salt, because they are, for starters, it's really short. I think their practice session is only like 20, 30 minutes long, and then it transitions immediately over into qualifying on Saturday. And this is also right in the middle of the day, right in the heart of the afternoon. I think they start at 12 and qualify at 12:30 or something like that. And then they don't race until 8 o'clock at night. So the conditions the track is going to be in is just, temperature wise and rubber on the track. Like it's going to be completely different than what they practice and qualify on versus what they race in. So, don't only rely on practice and qualifying. We're still going to use it, especially if we're like in between, maybe one player or another, but just kind of keep that in mind that the track conditions can be very different. So taking that into account, outside of practice and qualifying, I think Darlington is just honestly a good indicator of kind of currently where some of these teams are at. That's the most recent track that we just ran at. If they had good speed at Darlington, they should carry over and have good speed at Kansas. You also want to look back earlier in the year at Las Vegas, see how they ran there. What percentage of their laps were in the top 15? How many fast laps did they lay down? What was their driver rating? If they wrecked out, like what was the reason they wrecked out? If they had a poor finish, like what was the reason they had a poor finish? Can't always just look at results and pick your drivers accordingly. So you have to sometimes dive into that lap data. And then, it's hard because there's so much turnover, and you never know, like maybe this driver raced this track last year, but it was in a completely different type of truck with completely different types of equipment. So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt too. So those are kind of the things that we're looking at. Getting to the actual drivers, some guys that were high on coming into it. I think John Hunter Nemechek hasn't been like the dominant, type of driver that we have expected him to be in the Truck Series. He did just win last weekend and almost got nailed with a beer can, which was crazy to see. I'm glad he didn't, but it just puts you in perspective, like how close you really are to the fans. And part of me wishes they would go back and have Victory Lane the interview directly in Victory Lane with the crew instead of just right there on the front stretch. But I understand they want that for the fans, and it's a lot quicker for TV time. Like John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith's been fast all year. Ben Rhodes has been pretty consistent. We just really haven't seen him dominating. So I like the lap leading potential of Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, John Hunter, Michek if you're paying all the way up for this range. Grant Enfinger ran a lot better last week, but you got to put multiple types of those races together before we'd feel confident going there. Maybe practice and qualifying will show that, hey, he's a really fast truck. I know Sheldon Creed was pretty good here at Kansas, last year. So if GMS can bring that same type of setup, maybe he's in for a good day. Carson Hocevar finally got a price increase. I think he was like $8,000 for the longest time. Now he's back up to $9,700. But he's finishing second, fifth. He's right running in the top 5. It's only a matter of time before he breaks through and gets the victory lane. Corey Heim, he's pretty cheap, relatively speaking, in the KBM truck. So it's shown good speed. Friesen, he's shown good speed. He just hasn't had the finishes. So it doesn't really scare me too much. Matt Crafton's pretty cheap. Tanner Gray is always a, high risk, high reward type of driver. He's either going to, he'll be up there, fighting, getting, running in the top 10. I'm sure the broadcast will shout him out of how fast he is. And he's one of the highest moving trucks on the track. And then the next thing 8 laps later, they'll pan to him and he's got a flat tire, or he spun out, or he's got damage on his truck. So, if he can avoid trouble, he should be a good play, but he's risky. Austin Wayne Self and Haley Deegan always seem to be priced right next to each other, but we always like to go to them just because of the value and the upside that they have. And then Timmy Hill, Lawless Allen, more just based off of the equipment. Once I think you get down to this range, it is a 1.5 mile track, so they should theoretically get spread out. I think there's a better chance of this race going relatively green compared to some of the tracks that we've been at recently. But they're still going to wreck, and then I'm kind of interested at Tyler Hill. There's only 35 trucks, I believe, that are entered for the race this weekend. So, everyone's going to get a decent payout. No one's going to go home. So I'm curious if this truck that, the Hill brothers are bringing, if it's actually running or if they're just, collecting a paycheck with it at the back of the field. So kind of interested to see how he does. If it is a legit Hill Motorsports truck, I'd like, both the Hill brothers a lot this weekend, but we'll see. Practice and qualifying should be pretty obvious to kind of tell you, which of these back marker cars have speed. And then it's just going to be taking advantage of kind of where they practice and qualify. So we'll put the picks video up on Saturday, post a spreadsheet over there up on our Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM, but pretty straightforward, mile and a half, cookie cutter, type of, DFS slate for the trucks this weekend. The only thing that's really different is just, the really tight practice and qualifying time, and then waiting all the way at the end of the day to run the truck race. But looking forward to it. And our Cup preview videos up live right now too. So if you haven't had a chance, make sure you check that one out too.